welcome to the Save Our Sperns podcast, Voices from the Frontline. This podcast comes from the Sperrin Mountains in Northern Ireland. It's a place shaped by land, by community and by long memory. And it's now living with growing pressures from mining and large-scale upland development. That pressure isn't unique to here. Across the world, the so-called energy transition is driving ever more extraction. There's growing demand for critical minerals and rare earth metals, and that demand is landing on local communities, asking them to live with long-term impacts of toxic mining. Season 1 looked at why the Sperrin Mountains matter through the voices of the people who live here and know this place well. Season 2 keeps those local voices at the centre while also stepping back a bit. In Season 2, we look at extractivism more broadly, how it's been justified, how it's fundamental to a system of accelerated growth, plundering ever more from a finite planet, designed only to feed predatory capitalism, creating untold and unprecedented misery simply to support the bottom line of a balance sheet in some distant glass-walled boardroom, far from the ground we are standing on. Thanks for listening, and let's begin. We met in Belfast on an ordinary wet Monday in January, the kind of day you'd expect nothing much from. What unfolded instead was something I'll carry with me for a long time. It was a rare privilege to sit in Pat and Nuala's company and to be trusted with their story. Because of the nature of what they've lived through, this interview was recorded a little differently. Part of the conversation took place in a busy restaurant, so you may hear some background noise. There were also moments when others from Save Our Sperns were present and asked the odd question. We chose to leave those moments in. I asked Pat and Nuala simply to speak about their lives and about what it meant to live just 5 miles from Aughinish Aluminium refinery, Europe's largest aluminium processing plant, near Aughinish on the Shannon Estuary in County Limerick. It was an ordinary rural place, farms close together, land worked by generations before them. Their home was within 5 miles of a tailing lagoon linked to a large industrial alumina plant. From the late 1980s on, people in the area began to notice things didn't sit right. Across several farms, cattle weren't thriving. Cows were being lost. Animals were getting sick and dying too young. People spoke about dust on the grass, smells in the air, and health problems that crept in over time. The Geoghegan family were one of a number of families affected. As the years went on, the impacts showed up inside the home as well. Pat and Nuala both became unwell, and their children were affected too. Concerns were raised locally, investigations were carried out, and yet years passed with gaps, unanswered questions, and the health of the family and the health of all their animals continued to deteriorate. The issue is the storage of vast amounts of industrial waste in open tailings lagoons. Over time, that waste is exposed to wind and rain. It dries into fine dust, settles on grass and soil, and washes into streams and rivers, and moves well beyond the boundaries of the site. This is a pattern seen across all extractive industries everywhere, with lasting consequences for land, water, animals, and human health. Even where the mining process itself differs, it is still the same story. In the end, Pat and Nuala had to leave their farm in order to protect their health. There is deep suffering in the story. Along with the pain, you will witness courage, resilience, steadiness, compassion, and humanity. The episode is longer than usual. I chose not to divide it, to allow the story to move at its own pace, back and forth, through memory, place, and experience. The effects they speak of are still present in their lives today, and the story is told here as one continuous thread. Welcome, Pat and Nuala, and thanks for taking the time to travel all the way from Limerick to Belfast to meet up with us to tell us your story. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. And before we get to the hard part, could you tell us a little bit about the farm, what life was like there before any of this started?
Thank you for welcoming us, and no problem coming up. I was actually born on the farm in Bullaglass in 1963. I ended up being an only child. So farming was always a part of my life from the time I could do it, really. Not I became old enough to do anything. It was lovely. We had names and all our cows and calves and things like, My mom would keep records of all the cows. So we had kind of a history. Like later on, you'd sell the heifer that wasn't out of a good man for milking, or you'd sell the beef bullock, like my father would sell. And he always got good prices for that and everything. We didn't have problems. Like any normal farmer back then, we were just an average sized farmer going back to that era, back during the 60s, the 70s, into the 80s. My father would be insulted if he had to, at his own skills, he had to bring the vet more than 2 or 3 times a year, to the farm, with animal illnesses. It was, they didn't happen really, unless you had a complicated cow calving or something But
how many cattle would you have had on the farm at that point?
Maybe around 20 or so, what I mean? Yeah, cows.
And went up to
40, was it?
Yeah.
And went up to 40 then, 38 afterwards.
Yeah. We ended up around 100 then, later on, between, as I say, my father didn't buy in, so it was gradually built up over the years, and he sold on any unwanted animals,
Okay. And can you describe the farm, if you were standing there today?
It's good land.
Yeah, but you're standing there, just describe what you see around you.
It's good land.
Yeah.
I don't have to put in any animals. We outwinter. We opposite outwinter. We don't have any of these slatted units or anything. I still outwinter cattle. My cattle animals are still outwinter to this very day. So I could tell you it was good land all year round,
Can you see the Shannon from your farm?
No. If you go to a very high, just one high point, you barely could in the winter time.
Yeah.
But in the summertime, naturally, you'd spend time to get obscured,
So we're talking about big fields or smaller fields or?
Well, at home, it was broken up.
Right.
It was broken up. We had 3 outside farms, and my mother had been an only child as well.
Right.
And she was down near the Shannon, where her land was. You could see Shannon Airport, and you could see the Shannon from where my mom's land was. So we also farmed down there, down in a place called Palace Kenry.
Right.
It was just lovely.
So,
do you know what I mean? Hard work, but
yeah,
that was the time, you know what I mean? Less machinery. I remember my father having a horse and, at the start, and bringing in the winds of hay, doing winds of hay, expected to stand on the wind of hay and that kind of stuff. And the first tractor he bought was a Massey 20 TVO sometime back in the late 70s. And I hated it, to be quite honest, because my job was child welfare. Was when he was bringing in the wind of hay, and if the wind of hay had to be too heavy, I had to sit on the bonnet of the tractor, and often used to go up with the 2 front wheels, used to lift up, and me hanging on. But
that was the way it was.
That's the way it was. Yeah. When you think back on it now, I wouldn't have my children doing it. I certainly wouldn't have my grandchildren doing it. So my mom died in 1985 of cancer.
Right.
I suppose we had 3 bad years. As I say, my mom was an only child. My father had 3 siblings, 2 sisters. One died when she was very young. She was only 28. She hadn't married or anything. His other sister, Aunt Maggie, she lived down the road from us. She was the only one to marry.
Yeah.
And his brother, Pat, actually went to live in England.
Okay.
And used to come home on his holidays night. So, as I said, I had only one aunt, one uncle.
Yeah.
My aunt died in 1984. Then my mum got No, 83 my aunt died. 84 my mum got diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer. There was no cancer treatment, no Milford hospices, no cancer care at that time, you got mental illness. So I cared for her. And my uncle came home just to usual time, came home during the summer and, would help out around. He went back, she came home and he went back in October, and he was only back a few days when he suddenly died. So that was November, 1st of November he died on. My father and my first cousin had to go across and arrange to bring him home, details and things. Luckily we had a cousin, a priest over in a part of England, and he helped him out. And while they were away, my mother had one of those checkups, and I was taken in and told that she was dying. She only had so long to live. She did in the following March in 1985. So it was just my dad and myself then after that,
Oh, what a year.
Yeah, it was tough. Yeah. It was tough till the time I realised that there was more to come.
That was a hard year for me.
That was hard. Year and a half or so, My father was kind of devastated, At that stage, I had left school. I had left secondary school and I had done my leaving cert and was farming full time. It was expected, that I would stay at home and farm.
Yeah.
And, I suggested a long time, I remember, after doing some assessment at school, that I'd go on to, join a bank or something. Oh my God, the reception
wasn't great.
No way. So, but I love farming.
Well, that's it.
I loved farming. Then my father had been involved in community stuff. He was also involved in politics. And that's how Patrick and myself met. We kind of knew each other, right? Through a political party. He was in the younger section of it. And we kind of knew. My mother used to say, "Oh, he's a lovely young fella,
Yeah, yeah.
So we started going out after it was a good bit after my mum died, I think. It was October, November. And we got engaged. I had no interest at all in him. in my mother. Yeah, influencing me because from the time we got engaged, New Year's Eve, would you believe? So a short couple of months.
Wow.
Sorry for a bit of emotion, but it's just been hard.
Yeah.
It's been hard since. So we got married in 1987. Everything was still going okay in the farm at that stage. Maybe just little niggly things. No, this is, as I say, 1987, just niggly things.
Had the company started at what point? When did the company appear?
70s.
70s.
Okay.
Someone came in to our farm. I don't know for who. I don't know why. He stood, I remember one day, sorry, myself and my dad was there at the time, and he was doing a survey. And we knew this was going on, but
they start coughing, because they were under pressure the whole time from coughing, And, there was farmers in the area that had problems, earlier than we had. And
Liam Summers.
And Justin Ryan,
a lot of us in it.
And they lost animals. And they were losing at an alarming rate.
What sort of rates were they losing?
They were, say.
Well, we were hearing that it was bigger. You know what I mean? Than
what was being said, do you know what I mean? Publicly.
Yeah, right.
And what you had was, you had a lot of farmers that were burying their animals in the night, bringing in diggers, because they didn't want another farmer or, anyone knowing that they were losing animals. But this was farmers,
And why do you think farmers would do that?
Because farmers don't want to be shown up. Maybe I think that there was a problem on their farm, or there was the same with Liam Summers, that when the milk lorry would come.
Oh, and Liam, now remember, was one of the first farmers, along with Justin Ryan. They were close neighbours, in the vicinity of Askeaton.
And he'd be saying to the department, "I'm having problems here," and he'd be saying to the people who were collecting the milk, which I don't want to name their names, is that, look, I have a problem in my farm. And all he got was, if you say you have a problem, the lorry will pass you out and you can dump your
And
milk.
it did, actually.
And that's
it
what it did.
Yes, the company.
Yeah.
And did they get paid for the milk then?
No, you don't.
Because they were putting the pressure on the farmers that if you
the
opened
lorry
your mouth,
doesn't come in, your milk goes out. It's like,
you weren't
still
going to get an
collect your
income.
cows.
If you thought you had an animal problem, well, who was going to buy your animals? This was what was going on in the area. Like, so farmers were coming out at night with diggers, burying their animals. Like there was
there was an underlying intimidation going on, like
without any of us.
And we didn't know that.
When did you begin to get a feeling that that this was going on? That everyone was keeping still.
As I say, my father died in 92. That was the first bad year we had, because the previous year, the thing on the farm was that we'd cows or calves up in my father's place, and then in the following springtime, April or May, we'd take those yearlings off down to my mother's land, which was, a good half an hour's drive. And that was the practice. So he died, as I say, in 92, but 91, the calves that were born in 91, they just never thrived for us. Like, you'd have them, you'd rear them inside for so long, and then actually you'd let them out into grass at 2 or 3 months, and they'd be weaned off of milk, like we bucket fed them. That didn't happen. They were getting pneumonia, or they were getting sick, or they were not growing properly for us. And my father was just, bewildered by this, and,
It never happened on the...
he was 70, he's at start of the 70s, he's early 70s, you know what I mean? So it was something new to him, it was...
In all his farming life?
Yeah.
And, how many cows would you be talking about a year, or...
that was about 20, wasn't there? Over 20 that year. Yeah, over 20 that year.
What did you...
They just didn't thrive.
Yeah.
Even when we let them out, we'd often... And he actually... What really upset him was he had to bring the vet. And the vet was, diagnosing pneumonia, which was totally alien on our farm, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he had to be injecting them and stuff, and they just didn't thrive. But we still took them down the following, when they were over 12 months, around 12 months. But they were just weak.
Yeah.
Even the farm we used to start them off in was landlocked. We had to go to my mother's first cousin's land to get up into our part of it.
Yeah.
And that my mother's first cousin, Robbie, he's saying to Dad, God, they're not as good with you this year, Mike.
They saw it straight away.
Yeah. And of course, Dad was,
yeah.
taken back and kind of insulted, you know what I mean?
But they weren't.
But that's the way they were, you know what I mean? But we had no realisation at the time.
And was that a one-off problem, or did it keep repeating?
Oh, it kept repeating. After my father died, the whole thing collapsed in on top of us. We discovered,
But it caused his death too,
Oh, it did. It caused his death, because that was of a Saturday. He went down the following day to check on them. We went in through the fields to check on them of a Sunday. And 3 mobile phone times he found.
We didn't know what he had found.
When he told... No, he didn't.
No.
He told Robbie that he didn't. We discovered when we went down, we presume what happened was he found one dead already and another one dying. And of course, the cousins I had been talking about, they had a landline, which was the only thing that was around. And he was, of course, a big panic. Come down, ring us, ring Nuala. His father had a phone at the time, and he just got a massive heart attack. Only luckily, Robbie, my mum's cousin, saw him coming rushing and saw him falling and was near enough to him, and he was gone. A massive heart attack, So then cattle we went down the following day to try and make sense of what was, because we were missing. He had 3 dogs with him. We were missing one of the little dogs, and we were looking for her. in between arranging a funeral and the shock of everything, and we didn't find her because Robbie had told us she ran after the ambulance that took my father's body away. Well, these were precious, especially Bambi. She had been there with my mum, and she had been just stuck to my mum. My mum was very ill. She just knew something was wrong with my mum as well. So she was exceptionally precious to us. And we found these dead animals. I think, how many did we lose altogether that time?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 above there.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to try and bury them.
Yeah.
We had to get a digger up.
Same thing.
Yeah. And it transpired just the time then, like that was May. Cows. There was 6 or 7 cows that didn't calve. We have been into, which never happened before. Cows always calved. You put them in calf.
The fertility just...
And it was AI.
Off, yeah.
It wasn't even just artificial insemination, But 6 or 7 cows at the same time, just everything just kind of came in on top of us. The co-ops, the Department of Agriculture was demanding upgrades of your milking premises. These rules and regulations.
Yeah.
So we had to invest a lot of money in that. So you were investing money, making less money because your cow or the calf was sick. So it ended up within a very short space of a couple of years that it was impossible to get the cow and calf where it never had been, even with a couple of bulls running with them, rather just relying on artificial insemination to try and keep the cow and calf, to bring the calf alive, and to keep the calf alive.
So, but the other thing in between that, we didn't know. We thought it was, after death, they say animals, you'll have some animals that'll die or something, and that happens and things. But we didn't know what was happening to us. It was also happening to other farmers in the same way, because there was no one linking the problems together. And it wasn't until we went to a meeting that we realized that our neighbour was having problems. He was losing animals, same problems. To start with infertility, to start with when the cow would calve, the calf would be small. Then when you'd see that the backbone of the calf would be curved. Then that calf would be growing. One part of the body would grow more than the other part of the body.
Especially the stomach.
Yeah. And the stomach would be thrown out. And we've had calves that you put your hand in to see when she calving, and you pull out bits. The calf was rotten inside the cow, right? There was other cows that would be walking around, and they should have been dead 6 months before that. That when you bring the vet, that he didn't even know how the cow was still alive. The milk yields were dropping. Right, everything was happening.
The cow didn't calve.
Cow didn't calve. Respiratory
massive. You're talking about thousands, you know what I mean, in a very short space of time. Plus, we were also bringing in. We had to get new vets because the vet my father used was retired because of age. He was in his 80s when this man retired. So new vets came in because we were reliant on them. They were coming in more often. The bills were building up. We didn't, we trusted them. That later turned out to be very foolish on our part. Trust our new farmer vets.
The Department of Agriculture has every vet in the country through her testing that time. Through factories, they'd be working for the department. There was no independence there, but we thought everyone was independent.
We thought everyone was honest, like ourselves.
Well, that's the way it was, that time. You didn't. But when you get into something like this, there's no coming back from it, right? The person that you were is not the person going forward anymore.
Well, we got a huge wake-up.
Yeah. But everyone will get a huge wake-up call. It doesn't matter because you're trying to fight to survive. Your income is going down. Your livelihood is gone. And your own health is going down with it, because as a farmer, you're out there, and whatever these animals are breeding that's causing risk, you're also breeding the same thing. So what's happening then is that you're starting to get the fatigue, you're starting to get muscle pains, respiratory, the pains in your joints are absolutely unreal. The word that we always used in our house was, what's wrong? Because we'd be asking the other one, what's wrong with you? Noel would be asking me, what's wrong with me now, right? So that we'd have to take breaks. If I'm down, Noel would have to go out and milk the cows or whatever shit to do. Noel would come in, and then if I'm okay, then for the following day, I go out or we're thrown down, because you're thrown down in such pain when the chemicals come in. But we didn't know at that time, that it was how bad the pollution was.
This slowly built up in us,
like.
I mean, it built up in the animal.
Yeah. First. And
where they had the fertility problems, first, and respiratory problems. You were constantly going to our late GP, Dr. NT, and constantly being diagnosed with chest infections, just not right. The cows were having miscarriages. I experienced miscarriages.
How many miscarriages?
Oh, 4 at least.
3 points.
3 or 4. Do you know what I mean? Some of them, I get a pregnancy test, and I didn't even do it on the 4th one because I just knew and it was just gone. Do you know what I mean?
Within a short space of time.
Yeah.
I remember one day that I was just coming over the yard, and Nuala was down in her knees, holding her stomach, and she had a pain, and the pollution was all around the place. And we rushed her out of the place, but sure, within a week, the result was she lost.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And the problem is you have no one to go to.
Yeah.
Because the system that allowed these people to be put in place are the same people that must protect them when they will cause the problem. And let me tell you, it'll be no different compared to ours as years. If they get in that door and open it, you'll never again close it, and you will have what we have, right? Because the same chemicals, we have cyanide, we have the heavy metals, we have all these, what you have. And that's what's going to be the problem.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
I should have been arrested a few times, but blood tests came back from you, especially the first time in 2009 when you got your first heart attack. Now, there has been multitude of illnesses he's gone through before then and since. But 2009...
You just sort of named some of those illnesses. So,
respiratory.
Heart attack.
Yeah.
Respiratory.
I've had 2 heart attacks. I never drank or smoked in my life. I've had 2 heart attacks.
Our daughter.
I've had a triple bypass. I've had a stroke. Yeah. I've had the respiratory problems. I've been unreal. And
he hasn't recovered from it.
I've never recovered from it.
He's been a different person since the bypass.
And that's the way it goes. Once, as I said, once the door opens, you can't close it anymore. Do you know what I mean? And our daughter has had two strokes. Our youngest daughter, our eldest daughter.
Our eldest girl went through. Amanda
stunted her growth, everything.
Yeah, it really was horrible. I started off by telling you I had a love of farming and I didn't mind it. Now, there's predation around farming for us. Do you know what I mean? Say, March, our cows start calving. I have only 11 now to calve, and they're sucklers. But it's turpid. And when you see an animal lying down, you might be lying down to feel like you're stretched out for a rest. But it's just stress. You're ended up straight away. So something wrong. We've never got past that, even though it's not happening as much because we changed our way of farming. You know what I mean? The dairy cow was under more pressure. That's what we discovered.
You're still farming on the same farm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't.
Yeah, but I have less. I lost all my mother's land,
And
why did you lose your mother's land?
Debts, and then
you sell the land.
Yeah, we were forced.
Yeah.
We were forced as well.
I
mean, because we stood up. We
How many acres did you have to sell?
Oh, I lost half of it.
Which is an acreage term?
60 or thereabout. Right. We sold other bits up near us for sites. Sites now around me would make 120,000, whereas back then if we got 4,000, it was things.
But you have to survive, you know what I mean?
Moved on.
And what they try to do is...
I was forced by banks to sell.
And they've tried to force us out,
We stood up. There's no other way of saying it. We stood up, we take our daughter, our eldest daughter in to get her pediatrician, even to get blood. We were inside an investigation. Then going back, 1994, excuse me. This is so much has happened. We started going to meetings. We were asked to go to a meeting by a neighbour. oh, you're having a few problems, aren't you? We did. And then we went into this hall in Skeaton. And there was a lot of people, just packed hall, like, you know what I mean? See, we had our head down. The way I describe it is there was so much happening in our farm. We didn't have time to think about what was happening around us. Our head was to the grindstone, trying to keep our animals alive, dealing with his health, declining health. My daughter had a young child. I mean, I was trying to keep everything going. I was also involved very much in my community, like, so I was stuck in, you name it, I was stuck in it. If it was a community, you know, some organisation cap, I was stuck in it. What you do when you're young, like, so we didn't, and trying to deal with just everything. So this meeting was an eye-opener. But eventually, the following year, in 95, because my mother had started with, as I mentioned earlier on, about having names and all the cows and things, we kept up that practice. So we had good records. We had all the AI papers. We had all, do you know what I mean? We could tell them what cow had died and what calf, and, you know what I mean? We had names, and we had, you know, so we were considered to be good record keepers. We had proof, you know, written proof with the animal problem. So there was 5 to be picked. The 5th people who had problems, sheehies with their horses, they were wise people. They mistrusted straight away the investigation. It was to be led by the EPA. The EPA were only set up. There was no Irish Environmental Protection Agency before
1992.
Yeah, 92. This was the first time the Irish EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, had work to do, had a office, shall we say. They headed it. They brought in the Department of Agriculture and Tagish, that I mentioned already, and the Department of Health. Now, they were in a very minor, what would I say?
Yeah, but we were the
their little piece of what they were supposed to do, even though there was human health problems going on, was very small to what they were supposed to do in the investigation. So,
but we were delighted that they were, because we thought we had a chance of finding out, showing, you know, we have the proof here on our farm. You're all coming in, so we'll find it, you know, and we're aware with it.
Yeah. Who organised the meeting?
Local. Yeah, the local farming group that was in the area.
But so we went to this meeting, and eventually there was 5 picked. We were interviewed. These personnel from this group, the Department of Culture, came and they looked at our, you know, we could put up on the table what we had, like, in proof and all this. And we were picked in as number 5 when the sheehies
pulled out
because we were the 5th highest animal deaths when the sheehies pulled out, because they had horses and that. Which surprised us and delighted us, because we thought, oh my God, are we this bad? But here they are to help us, like, you know what I mean? That sorted out. Sure, we were all talking about, you know, our heads were out of the clouds at this stage and back down to reality. We realised that Alcan was probably, as it was then, a factor in all this. Of course, they were including Moneypoint and Tarbert, which were 2 power stations at the same time. So they came into us. We used to have all this stuff in our heads. With a lot of this, you know, time has eroded it. Not eroded it.
In the 90s, October 96.
Yeah, October
96.
In 96 to 98, we started the investigation. 2 years we signed up for. By how many days?
17 days.
17 days into the investigation, our new vets, we found out, had done a report on us, on our animals. And they blamed everything that ever happened to our animals and put it at our door, even though they had only been, you know, a couple of years with us, had no back history. Oh, should I blame? We hadn't enough of water trucks, and we hadn't this, and we hadn't that around the farm, like, you know what I mean? And it didn't happen to any of the other farmers now. 27, they picked 5, and then they did a kind of a census thing, an interview with 27 other farmers. There was 27 altogether, and we were number 5 in that investigation. It didn't happen to those farmers because the EPA made a mistake, the Department of Agriculture, of sending out the report and saying, here lads, this is all your fault. This is what your vets say about you.
But this is what they said about us too.
Yeah.
You know,
What they thought, like,
without taking any blood results, the officials from the Department of Agriculture came onto our farm with Abbottstown.
This was only 17
days
into a 2-year investigation. You can imagine what they'd only done.
And they never the blooded our animals or anything. And this was by looking at animals and they maintained it was our fault.
Our vets ward.
And what they tried to do at the very start, they issued us with a protocol for us to sign. And we looked at the protocol. And if you signed this protocol, the protocol was you were allowing yourself to be blamed for your animal problems, right? And we were, I think, the only farmer that said no. We wrote up our protocol. We gave it to them, take it or leave it. So they took it. And
I suppose because I had been involved so much in community stuff, like, and things like, you know, I said to Patrick, look, we can't let our poor animals suffer like this. We have to defend them and defend ourselves. I was thinking more of the animals, even, because we had seen suffering like that our animals, the creators, went through, like, you know. So that started, I'm telling you, we wrote a lot in letters at that time. It was handwritten. And no, we were natural writers, but we took their thing apart and we threw it back to them, pointed out all their faults, where they have fallen down and where they invested what they hadn't done, like, and just wore them out, really. Like, where was their proof? We were asking, like, you know, any of this, like, we wanted proof. Later, we used to write it out, go to a town about, what?
7 miles, 10 miles away.
8 miles away. There was a woman that had a secretarial college and she used to type it out for us. We'd give it in the morning and we'd go back in the evening and proof it with her. And then we'd post that off. Actually, I want to mention one thing here. There was a man buried today, an MEP, member of the European Parliament, Brian Crowley. He was buried today. That man was great help. We had known him from up through the political times, and every letter we wrote in for a finish, we'd send it to Brian, and Brian would write in, because he maintained they could ignore our letters, but they had to kind of pay some little bit of attention to it. And Brian would send in a letter, like, you know. So it started an awful long backlog between us and the various departments, like, you know.
But this is what you have to do, because if they say one line to get away with it, that line is going to come back and that line is going to nail you at the end of the day.
Well, because we stood up for them.
Yeah.
Not one of the other farmers got that kind of treatment of saying this is your fault straight away without, you know, they thought these are two young, foolish ones. We can chop them down fairly quick, like, you know what I mean? And,
you know, and they come in on a smaller farm compared to a bigger farm and they maintain, you know, they hadn't the money to kind of do up the farm and, you know, this would be easy to get away with, right? But like, come and mess with us and we're a different species and that's where we are.
Actually, at the end of the day,
that's what everyone has to be.
Yeah, at the end of the day, when they wrote up their famous report, after it had all been finished, and we were the only farmers that they didn't actually call bad farmers in it. They actually, because we had started bringing them in, we'd started learning. We used to say, a vet used to come in every so often and be the way, pick a sample on the Department of Agriculture. That was, you know, and the other thing, our vets had been taken on. No, the Department of Agriculture, Irish Department of Agriculture, and about your department, but they have loads of vets implied. But they took on our vets. Our vets weren't just with us, they were with
the department who had rented out.
But they had been with other farmers as well. Yeah.
But so there was a conflict of interest there.
And of course, they were getting bigger. We weren't always able to pay our bills fully.
Yeah.
Or the department had them on retainer, was paying them big money.
You know, so they could have taken anyone or bought them from outside the area. But like, they took our vets who was on 2 of the 5 farms, right? So they were getting a report on those 2 farms from the vets, and they were taking our vets and using them on 2 other farms that they had rented. So like, the amount that goes on without you keeping. So in the department were coming in to us and they were trying to nail us. So one day I said to Nuala, I'll have a visit to their farm that they had taken over. So I went down when they weren't there, and they had the charts up in the wall of the breeding and the fertility and the whole lot. So I took my details, took my photographs, and I started to do a report now. So when I had the report done and we had met them for a meeting inside, I gave them the report. Like, the amount of problems that they had on their farm, if we had that amount, they would have buried us.
The farm they took over was one of the original farms, Justin Ryan member. They took him over. You know what I mean?
The company or the vets?
The investigation.
Yeah. Okay.
The investigation team.
Okay.
Right. Especially the farm. They put in a farm manager to run us. But the amount, they were having even worse problems than we were.
We were, yeah. And they couldn't.
They could take away the animal. Their practice was, they did the same in John Hanron with Knockshap and Donebelow and Tipperary. Take away the animal.
Up to Dublin or whatever.
And it's sure naturally, once the animal was outside the area, it could survive.
They can survive and they can come back a bit.
Recoup and come back, bring them back in again, But they couldn't do that.
But the problems that they had were so unreal with all the animals that they had, that the animals couldn't deal with the pollution that they tried to cover up on it. So by the time I had my list made out of all the problems and I landed it into the department, that was a different case then, that they would pound us all together after it. But they didn't like to be investigated themselves.
Oh, we had our phones cut off. I mean, if you didn't pay a bill within a couple of days.
Our ESB cut off.
They had long claws, as I said, they called in the banks on us. I mean, even a loan we were paying. What bank? One alerted the other bank, and all of a sudden they wanted it. They maintained I was telling lies about how much land, because the land registry had in my mother's thing that I had more land, and I was admitting to the banks like I had to explain to them that in their theory, the farm had jumped my grandfather and my mother's ownership and come straight to me, from my great grandfather somewhere back along, But we still had to sell the farm, you know what I mean?
But see, their hands don't show blood on them because they get all the rest to do the jobs for them. It doesn't matter that everyone will do for them, right? Because, look, it could be a big company, it could be the department, the state, you know what I mean? There is no one out there with a backbone that can turn around to them and say, no, we won't do it for you. They just do it for them, right? That's what you will see out there.
And even our own, well, I didn't have any family, but parts of our own family, you know what I mean?
You don't get
neighbours, you don't get
support.
You don't get support.
You're out there on your own.
Someone working there, or,
And I see it with groups even going around the country that they'd ask you, how best to set up a group. I said the best way to set up a group is set up a 5. And you take that 5 and you take out the information to a bigger group, And they say, why would you do that? I says, it doesn't matter how safe this group is over time. They'll use they can infiltrate it with one person, and that one person will come to meetings and they'll drop a clanger at these meetings and say, look, should we not be doing this or should we be doing it the other way? And the group is split within no time, because this is what I have taught them everywhere. I have a group, the Irish Environmental Forum, and I travel with fracking and around the country, and we set up groups, and that's the safest way of setting up. Set up at 5, then, because of voting, you have 3 to do whatever, and then you go out to a bigger group, which could be 20 or 30. But when they tell me, we have a huge group, I said, you're finished. That's the interview. I said, it'll be finished within about a year or 2. And they say, how could it be? You come back 2 years later, they tell you were right. Because it doesn't matter whether it is a cousin or you go home, even in your own family, and they could be working somewhere. They'll come back and say, Mom, Dad, do you really need to be doing that? And they will infiltrate in the meeting and they know how to set it up. Right? Or they come and they put their phone.
They'll either find your weakness, or they'll find someone that's...
Yeah. Or they come with a phone and they'll put a phone up on the table while it's on to record it, to take it away, or whatever, right? And I've seen it because I've gone up to the fracking people and I've held meetings up there and got groups together, and that's how they do it. And next thing, you're on the way home and you're getting a phone call or someone's trying to split you up straight away because of what you were trying to do. So I would say to you, you have a tough road ahead of you, right? You're going to have our problem if the door opens and you let him in. But for God's sake, look, you won't be talking to each other at the end of the day if you allow it to happen, because people need to know the pressure that you're going to be under, right? They mightn't appreciate it, but they need to, because they will have a Geoghegan problem above in the Sperns Mountain, or a farmer will have the problem if your thing goes ahead, because
it might be vegetable grower, because it happened down our way, like, you know what I mean? There were vegetable growers now. Like, I mean, they knew not to, you know, put up their hands, like, you know, because vegetables will be sold, like, you know what I mean? Back gardening, you know what I mean? Same with dairy, beef.
And like, I'm a farmer, and I hate to say it, but farmers are the worst, because if they think they're going to lose €1 or a pound, they think twice about talking out, and
they find something wrong, you know what I mean?
And they'll get around them. But like, if you look at our process, right, and people will come back and say, look, it's different from the Sperns. We have chimneys coming out, right? That's one of our problems. But we have a tailings pond, right? That tailings pond is similar to what you're going to have from the waste left over. And the same heavy metal, cyanide, arsenic, they're all going to be in there. So,
plus you've already got the height.
And you have the height. So our problem is that the height, as it goes up, is prone to the wind blowing, right? Drying out.
Wind.
So when we're out in the field, bringing in the cattle or out, you can find these little things hitting your face. So these are the particles coming off of the red mud. And you're breathing them in. The cows are breathing them in, right? So all these chemicals are going into your system, and they're breaking down your system. It doesn't matter. You like the worst pollution, and you can say, I can say anything really on this, but your body is brilliant, because when the pollution comes and hits us, right, the first thing it will do, it'll drive out sweat.
Try to expel it.
Yeah, it tries to get it out of your system.
And there's 3 ways to expel it.
Yeah.
We know them. Sweat one is one, the other 2 don't mention. You know,
all,
but it does,
down below, like, but it'll give you the diarrhea, it'll give you everything, like, but your body is doing its best to try and protect you, right? So if you look at your area now,
this doesn't happen overnight now, it builds up. And the strange thing about it is different things will affect women and men in different ways, like, you know what I mean? Like, so times.
Yeah. It'll burn a section of my brain when it comes in, because it takes the filters out of your, you know, back along, that filters out it burns the filters and will go straight in and will start burning a part of your brain. Nuala's a different part of her brain gets burned. It'll cause the headaches, right? So, like, you're pure. That's what I call you at the moment in the Sperm Mountains, right? The people that live in the area are pure. So that the day that these people, God forbid, that they go into production, which we hope will never happen, their bodies are going to feel a strange effect, because they have to deal with something that they didn't have before. So their bodies are going to start to break down bit by bit, because these chemicals will start to go into you. You'll get rid of them, but they'll start lodging in certain areas of your bodies, in the kidneys or where in, you know, parts. So you'll only get so much out, and the rest will start to build up. So, like, that's what we're saying, is that people will start to get the fatigue, they'll start to get the muscle pains, like, women will be under the biggest pressure, women who was carrying babies at the time and things. Now, like, when it happened in Askeaton, like, every woman that had one miscarriage had a second one automatically, right? Nuala had 3 or more, right? And that's what happens, because, and when it affects, even when you have the baby, years on, it affects that baby, because as they're growing, it affects them and how their growth and whatever, like, you know.
It's, like, you know, it's natural, like, because what the mother breathes and digests, the baby is also, like, so it leaves a shadow on the baby's health as well, like.
And the amount of cancer that's below with young people and everything is just huge. And, you know, and they're covering up for it. But what I'm saying is, with
cancer of all ages,
our tailings ponds is the same as yours. It dries out, it blows, they try to keep water on it. The company will say it's dry stacking. It's not dry stacking, because they're going to maybe use water on it. Dry stacking is even worse than anything.
Yeah, they have learned
because
to, like,
it's dry and it's going to blow. And the higher you are, the quicker it's going to blow on top of communities, right? We're 5 miles away, and this is what happened to us. So can you imagine your area? They're going to allow it 10 miles because you're going farther away from it because you're so high up when they start stacking this up. Like.
Yeah, and plus pollution, there's no boundaries, crosses county boundaries.
If it's water, you can stop it maybe, but when it's air,
You can't.
you know, you don't need to drink the water maybe, like, but you can't stop breathing the air, like.
Do you know how far the furthest farmer from the Aughinish was that was affected that you know of? Mayo.
Yeah. Donegal.
What's that? 70 miles?
But you're,
Donegal.
but you're like,
Yeah, there's a farmer up in Mayo. He came out in the morning.
this is going back when?
Yeah. It's gone back a good few years now.
Yeah, it's going back to the 90s.
He was an organic farmer. And he looked, and there was all this red stuff on inside his drills and on his plastic and
I thought it was a really small farmer. That, like,
you know, he had only 4 cows or whatever, and a good organic farmer and the whole lot. So he rang the EPA. The EPA came out, and all of a sudden, when they took the samples, the alarm bells went off in Dublin. He said, and the next thing he got 3 or 4 pulled up in a van and came out, and they started to gather the water, they started to gather everything that was out there and on his thing. All the evidence was gone. And he asked him, and the EPA fellow said no. They didn't know where it come from, and they even checked down in Aughinish. How would they check down in Aughinish? Only that they knew they had come across the board. Like, he gave away the game, right? The heavy metals were the same that was landing on the Mayo farmer, that was landing on our farm. Right, and they covered up for it. And then he knew.
We found that out through FOI.
Yeah.
FOI was brilliant when it came in first. Like, that's freedom of information.
Your FOI won't be any good because they won't put down anything in writing. And so they have learned. But this farmer, he had 4 cows. 3 of them wouldn't go on calf for him. Right? So he knew on Donegal and Tyrone, and he knew of other farmers up that area that was all over the place. So are you telling you're going to have it everywhere? Right? So we're already covering Ireland in that area up along, right? And because we have a group, the Capital Farmers Group, and people contact us and they say we have stuff up here in Galway or whatever, and we can tell them that it is it, because you said it was the Sahara dust that was coming in, right? So that they could cover up for the rest of the Aughinish was polluting around the thing. So that's why we stopped producing our milk. And that's what's going to happen to farmers up there. We had to stop producing our milk because we didn't have a safe environment. When we come out onto our fields and walk with black Wellingtons that were all covered in red, right? When cattle would drink the water, it was inside in the trucks. And these were dangerous heavy metals.
We learned, well, first of all, but within the investigation, we started looking for double. While we were in the investigation, we started getting split samples, be it of human or animal blood and stuff, like, you know what I mean? We actually were questioning the vet. He was only up the road from us. He was kind of only 4 miles up the road, like, you know what I mean? We kind of knew his family and Alan Johnson. And for a finish, like, we said, why don't you do like a cotton butter? My lay word for it, up the nose, or, you know, check, you know, because they hadn't. There was one very bad occasion in June, 1998?
Yeah, 97 and 98.
97, 98. We brought them. We used to call them in when our animals had been encountered an occasion of pollution. And he came out and he took bloods, and by this time he was also doing the nasal swabs. And they checked my animals for about 9 or 10 different animal ailments, right? Common ones. And they gave us, send out a letter, or it could be a possibility, it could be these 9 or 10. I'm only saying 9 or 10, I forget how many it was. So we wrote back to him and we said, okay, tell us which one caused this to our animals. Which one? You're saying my animals could have one of these. Oh, they went no further. They wouldn't answer. They said they tried them out for all the animal ailments. They all came back negative. And we said, well, you said it was either one of these 9 or 10 ailments. You put down to my animals being this ill and coughing and all this respiratory problems they had. Oh, we don't know. We don't know what to do next. This was in an industrial pollution investigation. They didn't know what to do next.
That cost 5.3 million.
Yeah.
They never looked into industry. They looked into the farmers. They picked up their floorboards and went to find everything that they could nail them on. But when Noel asked them, take a sample of our milk that we have and check it for toxins of heavy metal, we can take it, but we don't know what to check for. And they have a report from a toxicologist before the investigation went on from England could tell them exactly what to look for.
But it was the same. It was the same with the human side of things. Like, we had a very good doctor at the time, Dr. Antine, and she happened to know the head of the head guy that was heading up the little bit that impact that the health crowd were supposed to have on it. Their side of it was to do a diary, come in, come into a house, pick so many houses around a skating area. And, if your children had asthma, with asthma or anything, you didn't feature at all. But if they went into this man's house and this man had no asthma, he's sure that there was nothing showing up, or he was covered in the diary. Do you know what I mean? We all had to keep a little diary, like, of what things happened, like. So, Patrick was getting so ill at the time that there was nothing being done. We said, well, you're coming in blooding our animals. Why not blood the humans, like? You can actually see what's happened to us. Like, why not do the same? Surely if it's good enough for the animal, isn't the human more important? That was our attitude.
Even though it was only standard blood that we're doing with our animals, but still, the human was there. So dose. Dr. Kevin Keller, because he knew Dr. Anty and our GP, the general practitioner, came out to her practice and he said, but I wouldn't know what to check for. No. We said, we have no reports of what Aughinish chemicals around Aughinish Aluminium. Patrick produced a report to them that the EPA already had with a list of chemicals, and he said, why don't you check for these? But our daughter soon afterwards got very ill. And she had encountered we thought it was a simple, she was out playing in a swing. She wasn't right after she came out. She said, I swear, Mammy, there's something around or something, like, it was under a big old evergreen tree. And I had come in checking her. We were outside milking cows, and we kind of got to know our bodies had started reacting at this stage. Like, this was 1995, wasn't it? 97.
97, wasn't it? It was 97, yeah. Keep correcting me. And I brought Patrick in. He came in. With just something under the tree. The following day, Patrick was hospitalised with a suspected heart attack. I took him in the car to the region, what was UHL now, University Hospital Limerick. On the way in, he could feel every bump. He was saying, Nuala, the bump in the road, and he went blind. I had a heart test for TB and brucellosis, so
standard
yearly thing. This is the first part of it that happened before this happened. So Amanda went back to his parents, her grandparents. She came over on the Saturday or something. This was a Thursday. I took you in Friday, and she'd been with her aunt and came over and helped me out. And she was saying, I have, this pains. And sure, I'd been told my husband was after having a heart attack. So, you know what I mean? It was a total learning point. To this day, I feel so guilty about all this. But we were always on a learning curve with them, because this doctor wasn't helping us. There was no one helping us. None of these professionals were helping us, And we went in on the Sunday, and I always remember, to my absolute, I hate to think about it, but I always remember she was with her two cousins and his sister, her husband, and they had been in to see him, and then they walked away and left us outside the hospital. Amanda and myself, she was coming back to me Sunday night for school or something. And I just, all of a sudden, I could literally see the energy flow out of her. Literally in front of my eyes. The whole thing just changed. You came out of hospital, didn't you, on Monday? She had awful aches and pains. Oh, I couldn't describe. She just changed overnight. Like her health, she'd never been on antibiotics, never needed anything, And we took her in. Doctor, as I said, we had demanded at this stage for bloods to be done and stuff. We had to lift her in. Dr. Pierce thought no, you didn't actually have Mr. Geoghegan. But your liver was affected. You must be drinking too much or something. Patrick never drank in his life. And then he was turning out the door once Dr. Pierce heard that, there was more done. But we took Amanda into the same a couple of days, somewhere within the 2 weeks, and took her in. He had to lift her in. She couldn't walk with the aches and pains. I used to have to bring her up if she was out around the farm with me. I always had to give her a piggyback up. They took 5 vials of blood from her. There's if anyone has blood tests, different bottles. That was done within the regional hospital, inside the hospital, right? They were lost. But in the period before they were lost, we had a liaison doctor, Dr. Paul McKeown was his name.
Your samples from that time?
Yeah, I'll get on to that. Yeah. Between us and Dr. Kevin Kelleher. We had a liaison doctor, because Kelleher wouldn't talk to us. He found us too arrogant, I suppose, and too demanding. And Dr. McKeown rang me and said, we have found how to stop the process, meaning whatever, in the blood, from, he banged it and he said, we found how to stop the process from the blood going off, to preserve the blood long enough that he could send it away. And we're sending it to...
Oh, you're just sending it away
sending it away
to certain labs,
to labs
that does
chemical testing
against the emissions of what I had given them from Aughinish.
Yeah, okay.
And you had met a doctor.
I was delighted.
You had met a doctor in the meantime.
I had, during this period, we had gone into Dr. Tian, our GP. She'd take samples. We start giving in nasal swabs and hair swabs and bloods.
After Aughinish polluted.
And if her blood collection on her GP practice had been collected, we'd have to drive into the regional. A nurse even came out and met me once to take these bag samples from us after episodes of pollution. Over a 2-year period, we gave how many?
18 samples.
18. They all went missing, including the 5 vials of blood that were taken from my daughter inside in the hospital.
And the letter was produced by Dr. Paul McKeown, who said later that
this was the liaison doctor.
And he had said to the inquiry team that he had got it on good authority from another doctor, from Dr. De Freitas, that our samples had already been sent. Mendel and ours had been sent to the state lab for testing, because they had to go to a special lab because of the chemicals we checked. And the results were already back. And the other samples had gone to a lab in London, and they were due back. So how could they...
Amanda, meaning he was referring to Amanda about that.
Yeah, and the report...
She was only a young child.
They were lost to human error when they had already been tested, and whatever showed up in the results had linked to Aughinish.
In Amanda's.
Yeah.
She went on for a long time. She was only, I'd say, in her late teens.
This is
Amanda fully recovered.
These are the people you go to for help. As I said, they've allowed these people to come in, and then they have to cover up for them when they do anything wrong. So you can never get to the place of catching these people out. And the people at the top of our government, Taoiseach Micheál Martin, Simon Harris, have all been involved, and Leo Varadkar, when they were Minister for Health, in covering up for those that are responsible. And you can't, they have the power in the government. And
Dr. Paul McKeown, I knew he had changed one day in a phone call or something. You just learn by people, by their attitude. He left a message on my answering machine, and I just said to Pat, listen to that. And he said, he's gone from us.
Not his fault. He was brilliant. He tried to stand up for the system.
Dr. Kevin Kelleher he went up to the height of the HSE, you know what I mean? They all got jobs, high up jobs, promotion for being good guys and for doing it the proper way. We went up to Dublin to get away for one night, to make Amanda summer holidays or summer holidays. And this happened. You finished up the milk, and I was packing or doing whatever a little bit, getting Amanda ready. And where we were staying, some part of it was around St. James's anyway. And you had gone into Dr. Tian before we left. We delayed going. because she said, "Oh, I got caught with this." Like it was really strange. It was like, do you remember those movies where everything goes slow? He said, and he just couldn't. He really thought there was an elephant coming in the middle of our big cow shed. It's like
you're hallucinating everything with it. Dangerous stuff, like, you know, when it gets closed into a shed and you're inside with it, like, do you know what I mean? It's all the day. It can have different effects.
But he ended up inside St. Vincent's. Was it that night?
Yeah.
Amanda and myself. Sure. No, they walked very quick because I had a small child with me.
But anytime we've gone away, like if you get caught going, you're in trouble.
He was really susceptible to it. But
and the one other thing that we can do is to go out of the area, because your body is used to it. Is used to it while you're in the area, right?
Suffer, do you?
You suffer when you go back. It's like hit it for the first time.
That window was open last night. I could go to sleep. I wasn't getting caught. I get these catches for bread now. Like, and sometimes if it was stick there in me and to get my heart even, I'd have to have water with me. I don't have any of that up here. I can go to Dublin, but they say it's the most polluted place.
Yeah. And we can walk the streets there, because what we've got chemical sensitivity. Yeah. And if you get sensitized once, you can never get out your system. So that if you
It's going to happen. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's going to happen too.
So if you have a strong perfume on, I can be thrown up after it, or after shave, right? We only need to get one whiff of it. The chemicals takes you to a different level of chemical sensitivity, that any chemical after that, if it messes with the same one that comes out or whatever is anywhere, you are thrown up. Empty reach, and we'd have empty reach in a lot of the mornings when we get up, because it comes into the house at night, like. So, like, if it goes into a house and you have heat on, it circulates it around the house and gets it going, gets it active.
The railway line's ignited. It's very strange. We've talked this over the years.
It ionizes it, like, so, like, we have gone to the other level of it, like, so, like, you know, but people will get it because it's going to be there for how many years with you if it comes in. And there is no difference. Like cyanide is involved, arsenic is involved. It's only, and what we make it worse is that when that stuff is dumped, say when they take it out of the mine in Brazil and brings it to Aughinish, Aughinish has to add caustic and all other chemicals to get the impurities, the bad ones out.
It comes in as raw.
Yeah. And it's crushed.
And when it goes out the front door and going back out on the conveyor belt to the ship, it's fine white powder.
But the waste in it is pumped out in liquid form and it dries. So we have the chemicals added to it as well, plus what's already in it, like, you know? So, like, that's where our biggest problem is, that when these chemicals are down there, and we've always asked the question, that when they interact over the years, they set off a different section of what they can do, like, you know, where they come out individually, fine, but when they're down there sitting together, no one has ever taught us how dangerous
and no one can access them
and what they connect to themselves, like, and we're looking still for someone to tell us that. And that's where we maintain, the longer they're down there together mixing with each other, when they start to blow, you're getting a right dose, like. Aughinish are the only ones that had never got sanctioned by Europe, by the
Irish government
or America, and he's able to walk away because it's aluminum.
Russian-owned company, below in Limerick, Russian-owned company,
and his money's gone back into fighting Ukraine
before the Ukraine war, but since the Ukraine war, like, not.
I was going to ask, the special rapporteur is coming to Ireland.
Yes,
it's up next month, or when?
Yeah, next month, I think.
I'm just wondering if you knew about that, or if if you see any point in meeting.
Yeah, but of course we would, because it would mean that if someone outside, we have no problem, they come to our farm, right? And just
we have tried everywhere. We have been to Europe with this, like, you know what I mean?
Europe is a close shop, like
they are a close shop. Like,
you'll have nowhere to go either.
Like, Europe will come back to the company about,
and to the Irish government. And say, is this what these people are trying to slag?
Yeah, they gave us this, right? They say this is happening. Like. And who did they go back to? The company, well, the Irish government, the company through the Irish government. And they will write back. They won't contact the complaintee, be it a group of people or individuals, whatever. And then we used to get letters back, your file is closed because so-and-so said.
Because your Irish MEP's gone out and they're just controlling it for it. So there is nowhere for you to go. The only thing you have, it never happens. There's only one option. There is no other option for you.
You mentioned the Racketeur there. The
UN
Racketeur. Two lovely ladies across Sinclair, a mother and daughter, Melina, and you know them? Melina.
They're brilliant.
And her mum is, sorry, I'll tap my head. Christina. Two lovely people and really devout in fighting any injustice at the moment. Tis the Palestine and very much environmental. And they have been a wonderful support to us over the last couple of years, and they watch out for all that kind of stuff, whereas we can't anymore. His health has been too weak.
But
we can't watch out. So they kind of have filled the little gap for us, and they do the kind of work
But I think there was someone from me got on to them to say that the rapporteur was coming, and should they call to us? They can call to our farm and just talk to us,
We have wasted time. We have written to all these people. They just don't want to know, I mean,
they're all funded.
This thing is steeping now,
That's it.
I mean,
which are funded organisations.
And all your groups around, we were saying, any football, any soccer, they're all going to get their money, and that's all they care. We have learned we are going to stay shouting and trying to help people,
but
right?
They come to me, the hairdresser, or meet me in a shop, or they'll,
and tell us what's going on.
We told the Geoghegans now, sure, they'll go off and they'll do something about it, you know what I mean? That's my conscience.
And we want to, and they'll do the same to you, do you know what I mean? Is however many is in your group, and they'll say, look, this is a terror. But behind your back then, they're just going to lie down and they'll take it, right?
Yeah.
Did they want to be like us? Even if they think they don't want that, they can be like us, they will be like us in 10 or 15 years.
That's what makes us really angry. There is an incinerator gone into Cement Limited inside in Limerick, in the outskirts of the city, out our way. They had an oral hearing, they had this, we helped them with it and everything. I spoke at it. In a submission, I spoke to them. But, of course, naturally, I got approval. But that area, it was, that was a few housing estates. But since that incinerator, the amenities as beautiful parks for children, there's walkways, there's cycle lane, and the amount of
houses,
estates, a small field, where you might
they're running in there,
they're running. People are running in there. They can't get enough of it.
So, if you wanted to bring housing to your area, you tell them there's an incinerator coming, and they'll run to you.
If you throw a ball, you hit an estate, a housing estate, there's apartments there.
Yeah.
Because you see, you have the big chemical pharmaceutical companies, Regeneron, Lilly, you have the Raheen Industrial Estate.
Okay.
They can't get employers enough in because there's no place to house them.
No, they're
okay.
So you have all those as well.
But you'll be seeing things already, we have told you, happening in your area.
You know what I mean?
There's no doubt about that.
The girl one of the girls that was over the anti-incineration group, Claire, she lived in there in that particular, I think it's in that particular area. She sold out and went to another part of the Limerick, It's going to be just too near, when she saw the writing on the wall,
Yeah. I want to come back just to verify a few things. You're still living in the same house, sorry?
No, we moved over.
Okay. So when did you move?
When you got the first heart attack in 2009. We were kind of going back and forth a little bit, where we just had said at that stage, look, and we had changed our farm practice out of our conscience, not because we were forced to. So we stopped milking in 2004 because we thought, well, our milk was going to be made into cheese, yogurts, butter, maybe, you know what I mean? So we stopped producing. And we'd suckling, you know what I mean? Keeping the same animals, same ties, and our
lost our main income.
We lost our main income,
So tell me a little about what was it like to leave your house, the farm?
During that stage, we had been, at that stage, I had my second daughter. She was Megan and Amanda, my Ulster. Megan was born in 2000, so Megan would have been about 9. Like, Amanda had gone through so much already, had seen so much, like in hospital and out of hospital. And, I mean, Amanda, actually, when I was expecting Megan, she broke down one day outside in the field with him because it was 1999 and coming 2000. I had her in August 2000, and she broke down to Daddy outside in the field because there was a lot of calves being born or coming dead again, still that particular year. And she said, when Mommy's baby come dead, Johnny.
But also
So you're talking about, you know, she was born, what was she doing the sums like, you know, what age she was then, like, you know, she was born in 92, so you do the sums like, but that was her vision and her feeling and what she had gathered over the years, like between, as I said,
but
the animals and what pets had died, be it a dog or a calf or whatever. She used to
5 dogs with cancer that died, like.
She'd go out and check an animal before she went to school, first cow. And the thing was the cow dead? We were hoping the cow would be dead because she'd been down for so long, and something that would start off about maybe the width of my ring, right? If I, you know, that size of a little sore would suddenly become, I mean, a dinner plate size in the end, and you'd be hoping the poor animal would just go.
And we'd also...
So by the time we left the farm, there was so much distress. We had learned. You had bought books. If we went out for a day, we'd lose inside on Weatherstones or, you know, or some bookshop, and you'd be buying books about pollution. So, because as I say, we had to teach ourselves what to do. We also had done our own testing. We'd got a good vet. And he was a very fair man. He wouldn't come down the side of the apartment, or he wouldn't come down on our side. He'd do the testing. We started doing postmortems on our animals ourselves. And he'd do that from DVD, which is you have to take a piece from the brain of the animal. So he wasn't doing nothing illegal. He was taking that piece, sending it off for testing, separate way. Because we were, during the investigation, sending not only us, but all the farms that were in the investigation, if their animal died, the departments would come out and take it into the local veterinary lab, the department veterinary lab. You'll get no results of why that animal died, like. So over time, we started doing our own. That was after foot and mouth. And of course, we'd had to run down because the other vets that went into the investigation, the department side,
had let us down, and they had actually taken us to court for a bill. They had issued court proceedings against us. This was just some of the pressure that was put on us. Like, it wasn't our idea, but the departments to do that. Like, send them out court proceedings. Like, you know what I mean? So naturally, trust between them and us had broken down, and I used to forget how we found Lutz, but he was a godsend. We had tried Irish labs, and what we discovered was if we used the Irish lab, and we sent back the result with that to the department or to the EPA with the name of the lab verifying the results, like, you know, all of a sudden they turned around and started using the lab. So, of course, no good thought. The department, they didn't know who it was. But we were doing it now for other farmers as well, like, you know, the farmers that were having problems with their animals through our group, the Kappa Farmers. And he was doing it, you know, taking the animal died, do the postmortem, sent it, and we got the results back. So we knew this, and we had done it with ourselves. We sent bloods to the same lab. We'd get our doctor, and that we always had a chain of evidence. Well, we didn't touch it. We didn't take it either. The vet took the sample. He handled the sample to the lab, right? I mean, so we couldn't interfere. We had this thing always, or with our bloods, like, or whatever sample. A professional took it. So there was always, they couldn't come back and say, look, sure, they can send that off. Like, you know, they could have done this, that, or the other, like, you know, interfered with it. And we always kept a split sample. And the department used to they knew we had split samples, so they started doing more for our animals, but they never went beyond the point of testing for any chemicals. They stopped at that. Yeah, but
So we had educated ourselves. We had discovered that they were affecting us. So by the time we really left the farm, luckily we had a house next door to his parents that had get built that we could go back to. And we used to come over every day. We used to bring our kids over for school and things like, you know. Yeah.
But like, getting back even to I'm going to get back to before Megan was born, right? That when there'd be, you know, you look at these films and where the president comes under pressure, or that there's a bomb or there's something, that they rush the president into the car and off he goes, right? We were similar, because Amanda would be watching out for pollution, and she shouted to me, Daddy, there's pollution around. Where's Mammy? We'd have to get Mammy, get her into the car, and Mammy would have to drive off in speed to get out
This
of
is
the
what I
farm.
was expecting Megan.
Yeah, while she was expecting Megan, otherwise she'd get a miscarriage.
Well, we were afraid of.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? From what we had encountered before. But
We actually did the same with Megan.
Yeah.
That was one really bad episode.
it was that bad, like, do you know what I mean?
That was that episode, wasn't it? That you got the heart attack
Yeah.
from. That you got the actual heart attack from a couple of days, even though they missed it. But you went into the hospital that night. We took Megan out of school. Amanda was secondary. Was she away at the time or something? Amanda was on holidays. I think she was away back at her grandparents, but Megan was in national school, still in school. And we actually made up some excuse and took her out. We just had this feeling, some innate feeling about the way the cloud looked.
As it was coming, yeah.
It was coming. Plus, it was coming directly for our farm, because there's nothing between us and the company.
We're at a level, a kind of a level like
we
here.
could see it coming. We could see it up in the sky and something. I don't know what, but sure, he ended up having a heart attack. So to have left the farm, no, it wasn't such a big wrench.
Right. Okay.
And like,
It had been earlier.
How did the cloud differentiate from a normal looking cloud?
Oh,
What do you
it
think
would
was
be like,
different?
what do I call it, place, the atomic bomb, that type of a cloud.
Different shape?
yeah, it is, and it can be in different colours, and sometimes pollution would come, and you'd never
Like
You'll never see
the
it come.
sky, and all of a sudden you had this
Just appeared suddenly?
appear.
coming out of the chimneys. You know the source. Like,
Right,
you
right.
could see the source.
You could take a picture of it as it was coming, like, do you know what I
You
mean?
could see it moving nice, slowly along to us.
So whatever it would be leaving on its way, like, do you know what I mean?
So if a calm day, how long would it take to get to you?
Oh, quick enough over us. Depending, I can't.
It depends on the wind direction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You know,
But even we were in a wind tunnel, and it was the company now handed in a map at the first
all here
all hearing ever done in Ireland by the EPA was done
with Aughinish.
Aughinish. And it was actually the company, because they were saying about China Golden and places, and the company actually handed in that there was a wind tunnel just coming up towards us. Naturally enough, they got rid of that map.
But they learn from
Just,
something that go along there.
Just moving a slightly different direction.
Of course.
Financially, how did it hit you?
We've never recovered.
You can't recover from it because your main income is gone and the animals are still having problems.
You know what I mean? Sure, we had a bad credit rating anyway, like, because they made us sell this, that, and the other thing. Like,
You weren't going to get loans.
You weren't going to
nothing.
get loans, like, you know what I mean? And
if you did, you weren't able to pay them back, like, you know, because you couldn't guarantee that you were going to have
he couldn't
any
work.
I mean,
You know what I mean? You couldn't work outside you couldn't work on the farm, not to made outside the farm.
so like you're wiped out. You'll never get that back again. Like, do you know what I mean? If farmers think that they can take a hit and not come back from it, right? You know. But the only thing we did from all of our done is we cleaned up the company some bit that the coppers was on. Is that when the EPA came in, within 3 months of coming in, they said the problem in Askeaton is not there now. It's gone, whatever it was. And they were seeing, along with the department, that our problems was way worse. But they had to lie publicly in their own investigation so that they could save this company, right? Minister for the Environment, Minister for Agriculture, they all know from our files the cover up. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's unreal. The ministers will...
Tell them about the IDA letter.
Yeah, now in 1995, before the investigation set up, the IDA was contacted.
Irish Industrial Association.
Yeah, the
IDA.
Development Association. Now, they were contacted by Aughinish to tell them that they were not at fault for this pollution, that it more likely was coming from Germany, right? Not next to us. And what they did was they contacted the IDA. Please come down and we'll have a meeting. So they came down, and right next to Aughinish is a baby food factory.
Oh.
right? Okay, a baby, right?
That's right. They can see each other, like.
Yeah, they can see each other. So the baby food factory
And
met with the idea.
just remember, Aughinish is literally as your line up, say, your money pound Tarbert, your Aughinish, money pint and Tarbert, Aughinish, baby food factory, Liam Stars, Justin McCarthy.
Justin Ryan,
sorry.
Yeah. So like they met.
First two farmers were affected.
So the problem was that they met, the IDA met with Aughinish and they met with the baby food factory, and both of them told them that if there's pollution found in the investigation, we can't guarantee jobs, or we can't guarantee an extension to our plants, or we can't guarantee anything. So they took that to the Minister for Agriculture, and they told him, and that sorted the investigation out fairly quickly.
And the baby food factory continues to...
No, the baby food...
It's closing now.
It's closing now after they're saving the baby food factory.
You know the problems that's with Nestle at the moment. Well, it wasn't. It was White's.
Yeah, White's originally.
And then, it has changed hands if you look it up.
And
it's not White now, White's, WYTHES.
So, like, that's what the government will do. If you want someone to put the food chain at risk, call the Department of Agriculture themselves, and they have no problem in doing it because they protect these big businesses, right? That's the way they work. The Department of Health will not protect human health, they'll protect big business, right? The EPA environment will protect, right?
The EPA, for a finish, they got the nickname of being not the Environmental Protection Agency, but the Industrial Protection Agency.
Yeah. We found that ourselves. We're set up to protect the big companies.
But like,
to protect the environment.
That time our story broke into all that. I feel we were in a better position that time getting a hearing out there, because the national media are not there now for you.
That's
right. They have bought into the government, they have bought into the system, right? And they will not be there to highlight it. So we did have a run because we had the top journalist, Justine McCarthy, we had Michal, we had got out our story, right? I don't think there's much of a chance of getting our stories out there now. Do you know what I mean? And that's tough.
The companies wouldn't have to put in the same amount of work.
No, it's like what they do now.
I mean, the cover up, because the cover up is already in place now.
So you're heading for a tough time.
I'm talking about the South. Perhaps
you may be different, but
and don't think Europe are just.
But that's the other thing I say, that the people of the area cannot rely on all the work that you can do, because it's unfair to put the pressure on your shoulders, right, when they need to take more of responsibility, because it's not the pollution is airborne, right? That will come from the tailings pond. So every family will get it. It doesn't matter when the wind changes, they are going to get it, right? So that if these companies are out there and they're funding football fields, soccer pitches, so that youngsters can go out and play. They can go out and play. But while they're outside playing, they're inhaling the pollution that's coming from these. So what families are doing is they're leaving their families to go out and be exposed to their pollution, even though that these communities took money from these. And this is what they do. They buy people, and they expect people then to stay quiet. But they do, because people think we're getting this amenity, we're getting this. You pay in the long run. And I'm telling you, it's not nice when you realize what you're paying.
The other thing to prove it is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to have dust blowing. I'm sure you've all been warned if something, maybe definitely down our way anyway. Oh, if there's a bit of red stuff around, it came from the Sahara Desert. You'll get your meteorological or your news stations on you. Now, it can come from the Sahara Desert, the same colour stuff, but it can't come out of our place. It's the same colour. There's some magical...
Yeah. And there's 50 million tons of it in an open pot.
Invisible fence around our company.
And it doesn't blow.
It doesn't blow. Or it can blow from the Sahara Desert. If you want to, convince the stupidity that people believe, if you want to convince your listeners,
After everything you've both been through, Why is it important for you to keep telling this story?
Because we don't want it. We didn't always just fight for ourselves. We were always fighting for our neighbours and our neighbours' children. My 2 daughters. And everyone else's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that about
Sorry,
us?
we ended up being carers. We're just those type of individuals. We cared for both his elderly parents, like the bedbound, everything, like, you know what I mean? So we're those type of people, like, that care for animals, care for our fellow human being. I suppose we have, you know, we also put the good Lord himself, like, you know what I mean? You have to try. And I suppose we also live by the motto, it only takes a few good men to lie down for evil prosper. I mean,
That's where we work.
we bring that into, you know what I mean?
And like, if we tell our story,
Try and warn others.
yeah, but we know that we know there's other families out there that have stayed quiet and are suffering like us. You know what I mean? And feel that because of what happened, they blame 27 farmers in one area for being their own fault to their animals, right? When we know it was the biggest cover-up ever. So, like, you don't get farmers to come out anymore and be scapegoated like what the Geoghegans and what the other ones got done. But unless someone keeps going, and so even though as long as we can stay alive to do it, we'll do it. Because we've always maintained you can die quiet or you can die roaring. And we've taken the second one. You know what I mean?
We suffered for it financially and mentally and physically.
And we suffer from the system. Like,
What about your daughters? Where are they in all this? Apart from their illnesses, which is a huge part of their lives.
Oh, my eldest girl wouldn't want to even go there.
How old is your eldest girl?
She'll be 34 in May.
Right.
She wouldn't even want to be, to go
can't
there.
deal with it again.
She can't even. She has done, people have come and done interviews with us, like, you know what I mean? She's participated in them, like, even since her eldest child, my 2 adorable grandchildren. And she's like me, she gets very emotional about it. So she has buried it now. She doesn't want to, you know what I mean?
It's hard for
It's
you.
hard. Megan,
Like, she got the 2 strokes.
she got the 2. Do you know what I mean? Megan's health, she's always been up and down to Crumlin because she had a leaky kidney. She had, like, that was the silver lining for us. When we left in 2009, we didn't realise it because naturally, constantly, as I say, on a learning curve. But Megan had awful vocal, she had awful learning problems. Or she was delayed speech and language problems, like. But I thought to myself, how is she ever going to face secondary school? But gradually she blossomed and she never came to me
When you took her out of the area, like.
Yeah, when I took her, when she left. Like, for a finish, she actually stopped going to school in my local school in Galway. She moved back to a school back because she'd been bullied because of her delayed, you know what I mean, and stuff, like, you know what I mean. So, like, okay, she still has dyslexia and things, and she has suffered. She's had problems, like, you know what I mean. But she didn't see as much as Amanda, even though she experienced it in different ways. But she didn't have the visual of the animals and everything in her father. Now does she remember you being that something or other wrong? Like, you know what I mean. But I'm sure my 2 grandchildren will be the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like Dylan, especially, like our eldest boy, our grandchild, he's 9. Like, sure. Do they ever know you not being, a well grandfather? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that was the thing he used to be able to do with them, with Dylan loved, because he has created a monster. He's into soccer, and Dylan followed on. And it was just only up and down the hallway. They'd played a softball up and down the hallway. It's just the bypass. You can't even do that, like,
I was going to ask Maria, have you seen the film on the Corby Town? The other one is the film Dark Waters.
Yeah, we have.
We have, yeah.
And we've been in contact with the Dark Waters guy that fought the case.
So the solicitor?
Yeah. No, very nice. He came back.
Aaron Brockovich, that did, Aaron Brockovich.
But, like, they have their own fight.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to help in another fight, right?
No.
Because they have been destroyed, right? And we know what they have been. So you just make a contact And if they say, yeah, nice, fine, and the whole lot, that's nice, like, do you know what I mean? But we know where they're coming from, is that you can't visit this twice, right? You can only visit it once in your lifetime. And that's all you can do, because everything goes in your, do you know what I mean? You lose your life, like. There is no system out there that you can go into that will give.
They'll get to them. They'll get to them.
But look, he'll save all that if he can stop. Do you know what I mean? We're giving you an insight as to what, do you know what I mean, that can happen, right? And, you know, that's the best we can give you, is that we haven't told you, you know, there's a girl in America.
Mary Catherine Bruder.
Yeah, she came back 3 years ago, tried to do a film and to get it out.
She did. That was one.
And she had to go back for funding, and they'll no one fund her in Ireland.
We always tell people, like, we do students with doing thesis on this. Like if they come from UL and they give in a true, what they say, true thesis, whereas the company is wrong. Like, it has happened. Her lecturer would say, "Hey, girl, go back and do that now again, and don't give that in them." Shock. Because
they're giving money into the university.
They have hands into UL.
They're all connected, like, you know, your crowd would be connected.
They have funded laboratories or
ours was a Canadian company first day, like.
Yeah.
And yours is a Canadian, is it?
They cover every angle. They have the money.
Yeah. But your crowd could have it sold on to another one by the time it broke to. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's what I'd be worried about, is that they're just a front runner, like, do you know what I mean? And fronting and just sell on, like, and let you deal with it, you know? But, like, yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Sorry for giving me such a frightening and a very negative, well, we're not near the hope. Well, the truth, yeah.
But no, but you have people above there that don't care about the truth, like, that's the problem. You know, how do you get, you know, sorry, don't.
I worry if he is, of course, Trump. Like, gold.
Like, gold is and aluminium. They're the two most, and they have to have years, no matter what.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And once he makes the call, only the Canadian and America aren't getting on, like, do you know what I mean? Now, if gold is in above there, you're a prime target for it. And how much of gold is in there?
It's $3 billion. Not. Is it 3 billion? Is it 3 billion?
Something like that to say,
But then it's gone up. That was before you went up.
Yeah,
what did you say this morning?
Over 5,000, I believe.
Yeah.
But it crashes these.
And am I right that the waste that's left over has traces of gold will be in that as well? And will you have ones trying to come in afterwards and trying to?
Oh yeah, the one, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then they unearth everything, and there goes more dust. And
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, like, you'll have scavengers in there, like, you know, they'll be saying, "Jesus, there's stuff still left here, lads," in with their metal detectors or whatever they have. And
that's right.
But the other thing we learned through that Jerry, sorry, what's his second name? McGovern, is that the people where our raw bauxite comes from, like, they're suffering too.
That's what?
They're suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure. They're working on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for something like
it. Living in there, whatever land protection we have, they have nothing.
Yeah.
They have, corrupt governments, corrupt everything. They don't care.
No.
But our government is corrupt, but they're doing it, and people don't care. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't matter.
A lot of people don't know. They don't know.
They don't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you'll be surprised who don't want to know.
Yeah.
Hostages.
Yeah.
Hostages.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know, that Hot Press magazine thing, that was a brilliant article she wrote. You would love to be able to get it into every house up there.
Yeah.
You know, and let everyone read as to what is going to happen because of our tailings pond. You know what I mean? And they cover that. People need to have it in front of them to be forced to recognize that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you can do it.
That's the fact.
Do you know what I mean? That's, now, because she did write her...
That's what Moving in Leitrim did.
Yeah.
The anti-fracking group, they showed what fracking was like, you know, they put it up in a
But they used our story above there. Like, as I said, we used to hold meetings in farmers' houses.
Megan, he was so bad after 2009, but you were so, well, your health has been so very bad and so impacted by the whole lot. Like, your energy levels, if he expels his energy levels, it's just gone. And the training too.
We'd go leave the train.
Yesterday it happened to you.
Yeah, from Limerick,
Whatever. As soon as you got on the train from Connolly, whatever happened to you, I knew something had happened to you. I can't say what it was, but you were seriously unwell when you sat down in the seat and sat in the train coming up to Belfast.
But I used to take Megan up to Leitrim. She'd have to come with me to get me on the train and get me off.
He has absolutely no sense
of direction. I could still be on a train to Belfast or wherever.
Come up with him. And she was only 9 or 10. Yeah. She'd get him from up on the train, he'd sleep. She'd be watching an old DVD or doing something, but she'd keep her wits about her, like, and she'd know how to get him across from Houston to Connolly and get him up over the 9-year-old. Not much wrong with that 9-year-old.
No.
She had my sense of direction, like, you know what I mean?
But like, they'd put us up in a house above.
Yeah.
We went up to the Black Line. We went everywhere to tell 15 or 20 farmers that would come to a house and said, the only place to get him is to an ordinary house. You won't get him into a main hall or nothing because they don't want to be seen.
Well, then,
and you tell them then what's going to happen then. And they go home because they bring the wives and things with them. And it's the wives. The only one that's going to win this is the wives with the kids.
Every younger teenagers.
Fellas wouldn't win. Seriously, we wouldn't win.
Into their, they're into their environment. Younger people, like the Greta Thunbergs,
The last question. How would you like people to remember what happened to your family?
We wouldn't. How would we?
I don't know. Well, if we fought the good fight.
And we tried.
We didn't. We were honest. We'd made nothing out of it. It's what we lost. Like there was various rumours put out that we had made settlements and things. We never got a penny. Not a penny from it, from nothing. Only what it cost us. But we fought. We were honest about it. We never told a lie. Anything regarding our health or our animals, we could always back it up. Stay honest.
But you can't tell a lie. Because they can tell lies and get away with it. Mm-hmm. For you tell one lie, they will hang you on it and they destroy your reputation for it, right? And everything that we did, we documented, right? And once you document something, it's always there. So that in 20 or 30 years' time, if they want to come back and look at the Geoghegan case, it's all there for them. Right?
And there was a lot of trees cut down over us.
Because we have you a song which
fight back and forth. Even in the final investigation, Alan Johnson, the liaison investigator, it said that we nearly used them to prove our case. They being the Department of Agriculture.
They came in to show that we were bad farmers.
We're not showing off now about that.
No, because
have a his view of it,
because they went so much overboard in looking for viruses and everything, and we had the bloods there, and they checked them back, and they weren't there. The worms weren't there. There was nothing there, right? That was shown. So the only thing that was there had to be pollution. And because they went so overboard in going mad, because they said there was nothing, whatever was there in the 90s was already gone. Right?
They couldn't show one pollution test that they had performed.
Yeah. And that's why they proved our case, and that's why the minister we send our stuff to the Oireachtas committees to be investigated in health, in agriculture and environment, and we've got back a courier to our door with our file because they didn't want to open it. That's how bad it is.
And FOI, as we say, was brilliant. It always someone in the initial FOI departments were good, but you'd get boxes by courier down, there's so much about us, between us and, and everything.
But now there isn't like that. And it's cross-party, like, the Oireachtas the committees had a Sinn Féin chairperson, they had a Green Party chairperson, and there was a Fianna Fáil chairperson, and each of them killed our case and sent them back, right? So, you can, that tells you where you're going with cross-party or whatever. You're going nowhere. So and we don't want to tell you, but you're a great group, right? And you're brilliant from what I hear, but you're up against it. You're already up the hill,
Sinn Féin.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
And that's how we like to be cared, is that we tried.
We tried.
And they damaged our family, and we felt anyone that damaged our family, they're not going to get away with it. And we have protested outside the door, and we protested outside the Department of Health, and we will do everything.
We've achieved a lot. God knows, we've achieved a lot. Like, I mean, because of Justine McCarthy, the journalist that she was with the Independent at the time, like, we got an internal investigation, and the guys came in and they thought, sure, we'll sort this out. But sure, they didn't.
But it led to other things and and we're still fighting the Department of Health. Each minister that comes in is trying to protect their farmers.
Like, in it, like, if you read the internal investigation to our last samples, like Dr. DeFetus took the fall for it. Like, this man, when he was taken to fall, was the man that was performing autopsies, and his excuse was he was a very bad record keeper. A man that was, if you died suddenly was going to do your autopsy, was a bad record keeper. But that's how.
But they can't get away with it because the government controls it. You have the two main parties together, so there is no one that's going to say anything. And the other ones are trying to get into government with the two main parties, right? So they tore the line, right?
Luckily as well, we had kept a record of all the times and how the samples had been given in, like, you know what I mean?
But you meet, the other good thing to our thing is, you meet lovely people along the way.
Yeah,
we have made great friends. Like Jory McGovern, we have the amount up in Leitrim, we have...
Yeah, we're still in touch with a brother and sister up there, like, you know.
And that's one thing that you meet.
The shared the solicitor we have two lovely friends, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you get lovely friends out of that you would have.
Different issues.
So that's the other thing that we've learned, or that we have from our fight, is the lovely people that we have met, and that, you know, they're going to help someone else if we tell them what we know, and they'll, from their fight, will tell the next one that's trying to
if there's something wrong, I can ask them for prayers or something. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's a terror, like, you know, that's how you walk, and it's you connect with everyone, and geez, we would never have met people so nice.
Well, I think that's really a good note to leave it on, that you tried.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you both for making such a huge effort to come and be on this podcast. And I've really enjoyed it, even though it has been a really tough to listen to. And we're with you always in spirit.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
So there you go. I was left in astonishment that this could happen in Ireland, and also a deep sense of anger at the outrageous injustice of the treatment of one small community forced to live out the remainder of their lives in poor health and impoverished circumstances. And this is just one family that chose to speak out. There are many similarly affected. Once again, the economic system and the Going for Growth policy is prioritised over the health and well-being of people. The complete and effective stitch-up of the community by complicit government departments effectively gags local voices as toxic winds continue to poison humans, animals, farm livestock, dairy produce, and even baby food to this very day. It begs the question, what other air and water pollution is occurring all over Ireland that we the people have simply no idea about? I suppose what also struck me was the lack of awareness by some, or might it be called studied indifference. Despite on-the-ground evidence of massive numbers of cases of cancer, local folk still continue to move into the housing estates and work in the plant. How do you begin to tell a child with cancer that you've known about the risk of living in the area all along, yet chose to do nothing about it? But hey, it's fine because there's a nice play park outside, built by the company. Spending time listening to Pat and Nuala was a deeply moving experience, and in ways that are hard to explain, it did leave me with a sense of hope. Hope about the resilience of people like this, in how they still continue to rise above such dreadful life circumstances and remain in the arena unbowed, where many of us would have been broken. That truly is humanity at its exceptional best, and a rare example for us all. For the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the earth that supports us, we hold the line. If this episode of the podcast stayed with you the way it stayed with me, and you'd like to understand more of the wider picture behind it, you might want to listen to episode 23, a conversation with Dr. Stephen Emmerman, The Science of Failure, Truth, Risk and Responsibility. In that episode, Stephen speaks in detail about mine tailings dams and slag heaps, and about the long-term risks they carry for people and places. And if you feel that stories and information like this matter and deserve to be heard more widely, you can help by following the podcast. Leave a 5-star review and sharing it with others. It makes a real difference.